Book title, The Art of Worldly Wisdom, by Baltasar Gracián, 1647. In the 1600s, Spain stood at the height of its splendor. Cathedrals gleamed like gold, poets debated with kings, and the court was a theater of ambition where every smile concealed a strategy. It was an age of brilliance and betrayal, of light wrapped in shadow. And amid that glittering chaos lived a Jesuit scholar named Baltasar Gracián, a man who saw through the illusions of power yet played among them like a chess master who never lost his poise. Gracián watched dukes fall from grace, generals destroy themselves with pride, and fools ascend through flattery. He realized that goodness alone could not survive among wolves. It needed armor, intelligence, and timing. So he wrote, The Art of Worldly Wisdom, a book of 300 principles not for saints or cynics, but for thinkers. It was a guide for the soul that wished to stay pure while walking through mud, a manual for surviving corruption without becoming part of it. His words became a silent weapon passed from generation to generation, studied by philosophers, generals, entrepreneurs, and modern strategists who understood that the world may change its technology, but never its nature. Each aphorism hides a code: how to think without being predictable, how to act without being manipulated, and how to live wisely among those who mistake noise for strength. Introduction. Baltasar Gracián was not a loud man. He wrote quietly under candlelight in an era when the church feared independent thought more than sin. His writings were disguised as spiritual essays, but hidden within them was a science of human behavior centuries ahead of its time. He was exiled for his ideas, punished for being too aware. Yet his book survived because truth cannot be buried, it merely changes disguise. Gracián believed that wisdom was not born from isolation, but from participation. That to be spiritual in the world, one must learn how the world truly works. He saw men ruin themselves through impulsive virtue just as often as through vice. He saw noble souls crushed because they mistook honesty for strategy, and so he wrote, A wise man does at once what a fool does at last. His vision was not cynical, it was compassionate clarity. In this audiobook, we will travel through the pillars of his wisdom: appearance and reality, reputation and restraint, timing and patience, virtue and prudence. You will not just listen to old words, you will hear your own age reflected through them. Because the modern world, with all its lights and screens, is the same court disguised in pixels, filled with flattery, rivalry, and illusion. The difference is only the costume. Part 1. The Theater of the World. The world, Gracián wrote, is a stage. To play it well is wisdom. He didn't mean deception. He meant awareness. Everyone acts, even those who pretend not to. The problem is not that life is performance. The problem is that few understand the script. He watched men destroy opportunities by showing too much of themselves, by speaking before observing, by treating sincerity like a sword when it should be a shield. Never let your last card be seen, he warns. Reserve a corner of yourself unexposed. Because the world respects mystery more than transparency. The unknown commands curiosity, the revealed invites critique. He knew that truth when naked is often mocked, so he taught, clothe truth in timing. Say what must be said when it will be heard, not when you are burning to speak. That is not manipulation, that is mercy. Because in human affairs, raw honesty can wound where gentle phrasing can heal. In today's world, where constant exposure is mistaken for authenticity, Gracián's voice feels prophetic. You do not owe the world your every thought. You owe yourself your peace. Speak less, think deeper, and let your results speak for you. Part 2. The Art of Reputation and Power. Reputation, Gracián wrote, is more valuable than life itself, for it outlives you. In his time, a man's word could determine his future. In ours, it's the same. Only now, it lives forever on screens. He saw that power rarely belongs to the loudest. It belongs to those who are quietly consistent. A wise person builds reputation not by words, but by patterns. One act of integrity repeated becomes legend. One foolish act repeated becomes identity. Do not explain too much, he advises. Mystery increases majesty. To modern ears, this means never trade your essence for approval. The more you reveal, the more people think they own your meaning. Let them wonder. Let your silence be part of your influence. He knew that attention is currency, but like fire, it must be managed carefully. Too much exposure burns, too little, and you freeze in obscurity. The secret is rhythm. Appear, disappear, reappear better. Leave them wanting clarity, not closure. Part 3. The Craft of Silence and Speech. Gracián loved paradoxes because life itself is one. He wrote, "Silence is the sanctuary of the wise, speech the weapon of the fool." Yet in another line he says, "Speak when it is more dangerous to remain silent." He meant that wisdom is the ability to choose which silence and which word will serve truth. He studied people who ruined alliances by speaking to fill the air, and others who destroyed respect by refusing to speak when courage demanded it. He saw that silence is not passive, it is pressure. Used well, it forces the world to lean forward and listen. Used poorly, it becomes avoidance. In the court of life, every sentence is a chess move. Say less than necessary. But when you speak, make it strike gently and last long. "Better to be envied than pitied," he wrote. And better to be feared for your silence than ignored for your speech. In our age of endless commentary, this rule becomes revolutionary. The wise listen to understand, the fool listens to answer. The more words you throw into the air, the less weight any of them carry. Part 4. The Laboratory of Human Nature. Gracián was a Jesuit, but he was also the first true psychologist. He studied envy, vanity, loyalty, and deception as if they were experiments in a moral laboratory. "Man," he wrote, "is a mixture of angel and beast. The art is knowing which side to wake." He saw envy as one of the most poisonous forces in society, a sin that hides behind compliments and smiles. "Never show your happiness too openly," he warns, "for few can bear another's good fortune." Not because joy is evil, but because comparison is contagious. He understood emotional intelligence long before the phrase existed. "Learn to read the heart," he said. "There is no art more necessary." This meant observing patterns, watching reactions, listening to tone more than words. The one who sees without judgment and acts without haste commands life itself. He believed that every human carries two mirrors, one that reflects who they are and another that shows who they wish to be. Wisdom is knowing which mirror you're speaking to. Part 5. The Mastery of Timing. In Gracián's eyes, timing was the supreme art, the hinge upon which success turns. "Never be too soon," he said, "nor too late. The wise wait for the right wind." He compared life to sailing. The impatient drown in still water, the sluggish miss the tide. Only those who sense rhythm move with the sea of circumstance. He observed how people destroy good ideas by rushing them. "To force is to fail," he warns. "Even the sun must wait for dawn." The fruit that falls too early is sour. The love that arrives too late is lost. To modern ears, this means trust the process, but also learn its tempo. Timing is not waiting endlessly. It's sensing the pulse of readiness. If you act before others see the opportunity, they call you reckless. If you act just after, they call you wise. The difference is seconds, but the cause is intuition. In both commerce and character, the wise become artists of rhythm, knowing when to pause, when to strike, when to retreat, when to rise again. Part 6. The Art of Prudence and Detachment. Gracián believed prudence was not caution, but clarity, the art of staying awake when emotion demands sleep. "The first step to mastery," he said, "is to see the trap before you admire the bait." He knew pride disguises itself as confidence and flattery as friendship. So he teaches, "Do not praise too quickly nor trust too deeply, for both are promises your heart cannot keep." In our world of emotional reaction, prudence becomes sacred. The one who controls reaction controls the story. The world may insult you, but only your reaction gives it power. The wise do not fight every rumor. They outlast it. They do not chase apologies. They stand so steady that the world adjusts its judgment. Detachment, in Gracián's language, is not coldness. It is calm participation. It is the ability to act fully, but remain free inwardly. He who depends on applause, he says, dies with silence. The goal of life is to move with grace, not with permission. Part 7. Virtue, Strategy, and Legacy. At the end of The Art of Worldly Wisdom, Gracián returns to where he began, the union of morality and mastery. Virtue is the highest policy, he writes, because nothing can be more cunning than goodness well understood. He believed that the greatest strategist is the one who wins without losing character. To know good, he says, is not enough. One must know how to use it. Virtue without tact becomes self-sabotage. Tact without virtue becomes tyranny. The wise unite both, heart and mind, patience and purpose. He ends with humility. To be at peace with oneself is victory. The world is noise, he says, but wisdom is rhythm. You cannot silence the crowd, but you can learn the music behind their chaos. Once you hear that rhythm, you are no longer disturbed by it. You move within it. His message transcends time. Be gentle. Be strategic. Be aware. Greatness is not domination. It is balance. Closing summary. The Art of Worldly Wisdom remains one of the most underestimated masterpieces in human history. 300 aphorisms that read like reflections in a mirror polished by time. Each one reveals a truth we keep forgetting, that self-command is the rarest luxury, that grace is stronger than power, and that restraint is the final form of intelligence. Baltasar Gracián teaches that wisdom is not retreat, it is refinement. To live wisely is not to hide from the world, but to dance with it so skillfully that the world forgets it tried to control you. To live with his principles today is to turn chaos into composition, to walk into the modern storm of information, ego, and illusion, and emerge calm, elegant, and precise. Ending message. Books like The Art of Worldly Wisdom are not written to decorate libraries. They are written to train souls. Gracián's lessons remain alive because every generation rediscovers the same battlefield. The war between sincerity and strategy, heart and mask, virtue and vanity. So tonight, when you finish listening, do not rush to share a quote. Practice 1. Wait before reacting. Observe before judging. Speak less, mean more. That is how the art becomes alive again. You are listening to Sethtra Audiobook, where books speak, wisdom lives. If this voice brought clarity, silence, or strength to your night, subscribe and share it with one who needs light more than advice. Because as Gracián himself would whisper across centuries, to live well is to live unseen, but unforgettable.